A requirement to graduate from high school includes volunteer hours. Being the dog lover that I am, I decided to volunteer at my local animal adoption center, where I fell in love with a 4-year-old pit bull named Daisy. I came to learn that Daisy was rescued from a backyard breeder. Daisy had been chained to a tree day in and day out and repeatedly used as a breeding dog. She was scarred mentally, physically, and emotionally, and became very agitated when she saw any other dogs. Daisy is not a one-off case, and there's something that we can do about that. The Puppy Mill Project, last accessed February 24, 2022, states that there are nearly 167,388 breeding dogs in the United States. That's nearly 3,350 breeding dogs per state. Who knows how close a breeding dog could be to one of us, or even one of our own family members could be breeding and we not even know it. Today, we'll be discussing why dog breeding should be regulated. We'll look at the problem, some effects, and I'll try to provide a solution to that problem. First off, we have a severe problem. Dogs are being bred in excess. The Humane Society of the United States, last accessed February 28, 2022, states that 1.2 million puppies are being sold per year. The ASPCA, or American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, states that 3.1 million dogs are in pounds per year. Now, while I do not see breeding as ethically or morally wrong, I think that adoption is just as good of a way to gain a new family member. Surprisingly, pet stores are a large contributor to the number of bred animals. Breeding Business, a corporation which is dedicated to ethical breeding, wrote on May 17, 2019, some reasons why people would buy from a pet store instead of a breeder. These reasons may include pet stores usually have lower prices, pet stores are much more accessible, and dog visitation can be scheduled around the buyer's time. Now that we've discussed the problem, let's look at some effects. We'll be discussing 3 effects. 1, abuse of parent animals. 2, birth defects. And 3, overpopulation. One, let's talk about abuse of the parent animals. Now, in the dog breeding business, the puppies are what make the dough. So where does that leave the parents? The American Kennel Club, last accessed March 1st, 2022, provides a list of how to care for the breeding dogs, which would include preparing for pregnancies, knowing their genetics, and later on registering the litters to provide history of origin when the puppies are sold. Now, this list is a fantastic list that would surely put the dog's health above how much money the puppies are worth. But what about those that care more about the money? Those could be described as the backyard breeders, such as what Daisy was with. The RSPCA Australia, a branch of the Royal Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, describes backyard breeders as those who provide subpar living conditions, generally for the parent animals because they do not hold on to the puppies long enough for them to truly experience those conditions. This could include keeping them chained up to a tree or a fence, providing limited water or food, or not providing ample time for recovery between pregnancies, as it is usually the mother dogs that are held, not the fathers. Now, let's discuss birth defects. On September 16, 2010, PBS compared the breeding of dogs to the breeding of humans. When two humans, such as first cousins, were to have a child, that child has a much greater chance of developing birth defects, either mental or physical. The same happens with dogs. The French bulldogs are a fine example of such birth defects. Described by Davies, a veterinary referral hospital in Europe, last accessed March 1st, 2022, describes that French bulldogs and other flat-faced dogs will usually have BOAS, or brachicephalic obstructive airway syndrome. Just like this ball tries to escape my hand when I squeeze it, so does the tissue inside of these dogs' skulls, because their skulls are much smaller than the amount of tissue they contain. So this tissue will press on their nasal airway, causing limited air intake. And the third effect, overpopulation. As the ASPC, as mentioned previously, the ASPCA states there are 3.1 million dogs in the pound per year. Now, this number has gone down from earlier years, but I still see that as a very high number. And PETA, or People of Ethical Treatment of Animals, last accessed March 1st, 2022, poses a great argument that some breeders will not neuter or spay the puppies before selling them, which can later contribute to the rising number of the dog population. Now that we've discussed the effects, I'll try to provide a solution to this problem. We can vote for animal breeders to be regulated, or for pet stores to not sell purebred animals. Reported by Patricia West on Today's Veterinarian Nurse, last accessed March 1st, 2022, the governor of California, Jerry Brown, signed into effect AB 485. This law became effective January 1st, 2019, and banned commercially bred dogs, cats, and rabbits. This means that the pet stores cannot sell these bred animals, but rather they must sell animals from shelters or pounds. Now, this law has faced some fight. One such organization opposing this law is the American Kennel Club, which states that this law will make it much more difficult for Californians to obtain the characteristics and traits they want in a dog. I see this as a very good thing, because that would force the Californians to at least give adoption a chance, or do the legwork of finding a breeder. Now, the National Genome Research Institute, last accessed March 1st, 2022, states that we can contact our local state representative to sponsor our idea to Congress. Today, we discussed why it is imperative for dog breeders to be regulated. We looked at the problem, some effects, and I provided a solution to this problem. Remember, the Puppy Mill Project estimates there are 1,388 breeding dogs in the country. This means that there are roughly 3,350 breeding dogs in every state. Who knows how close one could be to us? As of now, Daisy is living in a loving home and receiving the love and kindness she deserves. She never should have faced the horror she did, but she was able to come out of it. Unfortunately, Daisy is not a special case in that regard. There are hundreds of thousands of other dogs today, right now, facing these horrors, but there's something that we can do about that. Let's take action so that Daisy's case could be the last one. Thank you.